Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me. My email is still tmosso@thewatchbox.com for now. It is in the description below, your purchase and pricing email question line. For buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms, please reach out to me directly. I am tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing a 2023 launch. This is one of the most inventive Panerai watches of recent years, taking elements used before, recombining them in a way that feels fresh. It's the Panerai Radiomir PAM01349. Now, it uses what's called E-steel, stainless steel, that's over 50% recycled, so every little bit helps. And then it features a remarkable burnished and DLC coated profile that gives the appearance of weathering. It's actually quite an involved process to get it there. We'll talk about that in a moment. It is 45 millimeters in diameter by 14.8 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip. It is 55 millimeters with a 26 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now we'll throw this on my wrist of 16 centimeters in circumference, and you can see that it wears nicely. The thing about the Radiomir is that although lug to lug you might be intimidated by the 55 millimeters, ignore the lugs. They're barely there physically, serving only to drape the strap over the edge of your wrist. Look how narrow the edges of the case are across the wrist. 45 millimeters from side to side. It's exactly as tall as it is wide, which means the case is well inboard of the edges of my wrist, which is why I could recommend this large watch for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters in circumference. And surprisingly, though not thin, it does feature a lot of steps and ramps on its case flank, so it will slide underneath the cuff. And you can even see over the top, the case is nowhere near the edge of my wrist. And this is the angle that always exaggerates the width of a watch. You can see the old school Panerai branding right there, a very rustic and minimally tanned weathered leather strap designed to look aged as the case is. These two things designed together. On the bottom, you can see it is a brand new Panerai factory strap. Calfskin completely unmarred, no crimping or gouging. A little bit of an E-crew binding stitch up there. And then we get a E-steel buckle that's been treated with the same combination of blasting, polishing, coating, and burnishing. So why don't we talk about this a little bit? So E-steel is recycled steel, more than 50% recycled. And although this is not a lot of steel, as I mentioned, every drop in the ocean is an addition. Taking a quick look, though, at the finish, that's really what's going to attract a lot of people to this watch. So it starts as steel that is mirror polished, and then it is media blasted. Then it's blackened with a DLC. Then it's burnished to give it this weathered look, which is nice because if you do scratch it or scuff it, it looks like it's supposed to be there. Now it has a screw-down crown here that features a circa 1970s Panerai logo, and you can see on the reverse side the lateral satination that would have been evocative of the finish of the Rolex Côte de Bear movements and then later the Angelus SF240s used on historic Panerai watches. So the finish inside and out designed to evoke history. 100 meters water resistant screw down crown. The dial has a dégradé effect. It is a fade from sort of olive military green at the center to almost black at the edge. California style dial, so Roman numerals on the top, Arabic numerals on the bottom, blued hands, only 2. Although curiously, despite the lack of a seconds hand, the watch does feature a hacking or stop function for the balance, so you can stop the watch. And then we've got a sapphire, and it is a sapphire with a tremendous amount of loft designed to give you the look and off-axis distortion of a vintage plexiglass. Now, this is evocative of the 3646 combat watches of the 1930s and 40s, of the type that would have been used by Italian tactical swimmers in the years leading up to and during World War II. So very basic in that regard. You've got this chaptering outboard for reading the individual minutes, and of course when I pull the crown I can set the watch, and it's got nice solid setting action with very little pressure necessary on the crown to actually move the hands. It's exceptionally reactive with very little dead angle, and sure enough you can see on the back that the balance has stopped. There is a stop seconds function. Screw it all back in. We'll do a loom shot here. And despite the use of a Fotina E-crew colored loom on the dial, there is no loss of luminescence. This is something people expect on Panerai watches. Another thing people expect on Panerai watches is the ability to swap straps. You will find there are many OEM factory options, but also a universe of aftermarket options, including full custom. You can put anything you want on this watch, find anything you want in any material, cut from any animal or synthetic. And you use these two screws right here to remove the wire style lugs. They pull out and then they separate in the middle, so it's very easy to do at home. The movement is a Panerai manufacturer caliber, or at least a Panerai exclusive caliber. Large to fill the case back properly is the P5000. A manual wind, twin mainspring barrels in series for a very even torque curve that makes for a very flat torque curve from maximum wind to minimum wind, meaning when fully wound, it's not going to gallop and gain a ton of time, and as it starts running down, it's not going to start losing time. That's the benefit of having two phased mainsprings in series. Now, it does have an 8-day power reserve, as did many historic Panerai watches, and all this pivots on 21 joules. It beats away at 3 hertz, so 6 beats per second. It's braced against shock with a full balance bridge and a free sprung balance. And of course, the 8-day power reserve is going to be the headlining feature, plus the vintage finish, although the finish here, bevels and satination, mechanically applied, it's done very handsomely, along with the polished screws. It's quite attractive. And this large 3/4 bridge pocket watch style, evoking the pocket watch movements used in the original Panerai combat watches in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and even a little bit beyond that. There is a lot to like with this watch, and the movement at 35.7 millimeters, beautifully fitting the case back like a hand in a glove. A really cool piece. Maybe a little bit offbeat if you are a Panerai traditionalist with the combination of color on the dial and the faux burnishing, but I think it looks cool. And again, with Panerai, small distinctions make all the difference. This is what the collectors and the fans of the brands look for. Small changes that don't violate the central tenets of the brand. Ladies' watches, colorful dials that are bright or light colored, robin's egg blue, light cream, these things tend to be controversial. This should be meat of the market. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.